Hello, welcome to one more session of tips and tricks on Photoshop. You must have told sometime during your photographic career or probably heard one of your senior photographers saying, I shoot in RAW in 16-bit and I shoot in 12-bit. I have JPEG on 8-bit and so on. So what is this bit? What is this bits per channel? Let's break the myth of this bits now. As you know, bit is the smallest unit of the computer memory which can store any data. It could be any data or probably a color information as far as Photoshop is concerned. So you all know that the data is stored in binary, either it is 1 or 0, which means in 1 bit there is a possibility of two kinds of information being stored, two binary information that could be stored. It could be either 0 or 1. So this is the case of 1 bit. Let's say, for example, if we want to know how much data can be stored in an 8-bit data file, it could be one of the two information per bit into 8. So the permutation and combination works out something like 2 into 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 2, which means that 2 to the power of 8, that much number of information can be stored on a 8-bit channel. And 2 to the power of 8 works out to 256. 256 is the 2 to the power of 8. Now, you might find this number a bit familiar. You might remember the grayscale, that is from 0 to 255. That makes the total of 256. 0 is one value and 255 is another value. So, thus the Photoshop takes 0 as one value and the last value is 255. And this is how the 256 number is arrived. Now, this is as far as concerned one channel. As you know, the Photoshop has got 3 channels, which is RGB, which is red, green and blue. Now, we have 256 channels for blue, 256 for green and 256 for red, which makes the permutation combination work into 256 into 256 into 256. That is 256 to the power of 3. That gives you a whopping amount of 16.7 million color information that can be available in a 8-bit per channel or 8-bit file. Now let's move on to the 16-bit channel. The same mathematics that goes, which is 2 to the power of 16, that works to 65,536. That is for one channel. And if we apply that the same way for blue, green and red, which is 65,536 into 65,536 into 65,536, you get a whopping 289 trillion colors. For a 16-bit channel, it has the capacity to store 289 trillion colors. To a naked eye, even you will not be able to make a difference between one value and the other one. But still, just to let you know, it exists. Now, you know, this is the information that is stored on the Photoshop channel for a 8-bit as well as a 16-bit. Let us see in a practical example how, in what way this affects the image. I have created an image of 640 by 640 in a 72 pixels per inch. If you could see, I arrived at the screen at Control Alt and I, and in Mac it is Command Option and I. That gives you the image size, or else you can go to Image and Image Size. That also gets you this. Now you have the 640 into 640, and this is 72 pixels per inch resolution. Now this is measured in terms of percentage. This is 100%, right? So what I'm going to do is to put a gradient. A gradient bar can be achieved by pressing the letter G, or you can choose this icon. And by default, I have made from black to white as the gradient color. Let me draw a gradient. I'm holding the shift so that the line goes straight. You can try this once you see this tutorial fully, and once this is over, this is how this gradient comes up. On another window, and this is a 8-bit per channel, you could see that this is 135%, RGB are the 3 channels, and 8 is the 8 bits that denotes the bit value, or the color depth, or the bit depth, or the pixel depth of this particular file. And another file I have opened with the same resolution at the same level size. Again, I am pressing Control Alt and I, or Command Option and I in Mac. Same 640 pixels, same 100%, and this is, you can see, is a 16-bit channel file. From this also, I am going to draw a gradient. I am holding the shift, making the color foreground and background, making sure that my foreground is black and the background is white. Now we switch back to the 8-bit channel image, and now I am going to reduce this by 25%. Again, I come back to the same command, Control Alt and I, and this is now measured in terms of 100%. I am going to enter the value of 25%, which reduces the size to 160 into 160, the same resolution of 72 pixels per inch. Now you have reduced the size of this 8 bits per channel file. Now again, what I am going to do is to increase this size by 4 times, because the earlier one I divided by 4, that is 25%. Now I am going to increase this by 4, that is, when it comes as the 100, now I am going to make it 400. Thus you can see the original size of 640 pixels is restored. I'm going to say OK. Now I'm not sure if you are able to see the difference, but I'll try to zoom. You can see a lot of banding over here. This is the issue, or this is supposed to be the problem when you operate in 8 pixels file. Let us do the same exercise with 16-bit per channel. I'm not going to go into detail because you know what I did in 8 bits per channel example. So I'm going to quickly go through it. I'm going to press Control Alt I, Command Alt Shift I into 20. Sorry, let me do it. 25%. That comes to this. And again, Control Alt I, Command Option I, make it 4 to 400%. And I press Control and the numerical 0. Now you see how smoothly the gradient still is there. Just a quick comparison, I am moving this to the 8 bits per channel. You see this, so much of banding is there, and in this one, for the 16 bits, it still retains the original smoothness because of the data information that is available. Well, in that case, you suggest that we go to 16 bits per channel always at all times. This comes with another disadvantage. The more the data that a file can store, instead of 6, almost it comes to a double of 16, the file size also increases dramatically. And there is one more caveat or the condition for this as well. When you operate on 16 bits per channel, you will not be able to save this into JPEG. You will have to save it in the format of TIFF or any other file that supports transparency. But for the JPEG, by default, it is 8 bits per channel. So the idea that you get is you can work on 16 bits per channel in, say, Lightroom or on the Lightroom module of the Photoshop. And finally, when it comes to flattening of the JPEG, it automatically converts into 8 bits per channel format. Let me see. As you could see, this is a 16-bit channel that we have, and I am going to save this file, save as, and let us test this 16 bits image. And I go to this and press J, where I get the JPEG option, and I save this, and the usual option pops up about the quality that I want. Let me have it at the maximum and leave it to the default of baseline as standard and things like that. And now when I open, I'm pressing Ctrl O for open to the 16-bit image, and this is the JPEG file that is saved on the 16-bit image. But if you see image mode, this is RGB and it saves only as the 8 bits per channel mode only. Thus, this is all about the 8-bit and the 16-bit. So next time somebody says you that I save in 16-bit mode, please tell them JPEG don't support on 16 bits. It supports only on 8-bit, and you can say that you know something about it, right? All the best. Hope you liked the video. If you need any information or any further questions, please do let me know. I have tried to make it as simple as possible. The explanation is quite complicated, but I have tried to summarize what is the essential thing that you need to know with regard to 8-bit per channel and the 16-bit per channel information, and I have given it. I have not covered everything, but whatever I have covered is essential and key to understanding the subject. Thank you very much.